In this video, I'm going to share with you the difference between phrases and clauses. With all grammar, sometimes it feels like, why do I need to know this? But this is really important because it helps, I think, in two ways. One, in helping to vary your sentence structure, when you can add phrases, when you can change up the number of clauses in a sentence, it helps your writing kind of go to another level rather than just a bunch of sequential, choppy sentences, one simple sentence in a row. Um, he went to the store, he bought a cake, he went home, he made the cake, right? Being able to kind of move those pieces together to create a better sentence flow. But it also helps us to avoid sentence errors such as writing in fragments, things of that nature. Primarily, the difference between phrases and clauses is that phrases are just a group of words, whereas clauses are a group of words containing a subject and a verb. Phrases will not contain that subject and verb. Now, primarily, there are kind of like 5 different types of phrases, but in various categories. So we have a positive phrases, prepositional phrases, and then a whole group called verbals. Let me just do a quick overview of these. Not that you necessarily need to remember all the different names of these, but it is helpful to kind of see how they work. And a positive phrase renames a noun. So you can see this example here. Jimmy, the boy from across the street, is really kind. Now this is a phrase. It doesn't contain a subject and verb, so I know it's not a clause, okay? But it's just a phrase renaming Jimmy. That's in a positive. Prepositional phrases there are lots of different types of prepositions. These are just a few of them. Normally, you can think of prepositions as describing a location, a time, or a topic. Okay, so notice these. The dishes are in the sink, location. On Thursday, time, we go to the park with the big slides. Okay, location. Topic, right? Using the preposition about. The movie is about a homeless dog. Prepositional phrases will always begin with a preposition and end with a noun, what we call the object of the preposition. Now, in between those, you may have adjectives describing the noun, but you're always going to begin with the preposition, end with the noun. So it can kind of help you in identifying those. But they're really important in language and sentence structure as well. After prepositional phrases, you have what are called verbals. Now, verbals can actually function in a phrase, but they don't have to. You can have a gerund, or you can have a gerund phrase. You can have a participle, you can have a participial phrase. You can have an infinitive, you can have an infinitive phrase. A gerund, why they're called verbals, is because they look like verbs, but they don't function grammatically like verbs, so they can kind of throw us off. But a gerund is actually a noun, and it's always going to end in ing. So look at this example, pulling this from the movie Elf. If you're familiar, I like smiling. Smiling is my favorite, right? So in this case, not that you need to know all of this terminology, did not mean to do that, but I like smiling. In this case, smiling is a noun. Specifically, it's the direct object in the sentence. I like what? I like smiling. In this case, smiling is a noun and it's functioning as the subject of a sentence. What is my favorite? Smiling is my favorite, right? It begins the sentence. Smiling is, and this is the subject of a sentence. It looks like a verb, right? Because smile can be a verb. In this case, smile can also be a noun. We use that like, oh, I have a great smile. But the act of smiling uh, is can be a verb. But this applies to any verb form, right? So let's say run. I like running. Running is my favorite. It can throw us off because we think of run as being a verb, but in this case, it's not functioning in the sentence as a verb. In this sentence, I like smiling. The verb is actually the word like, right? Same thing with, if I were to replace this with running, I like running. Okay, the verb is like. Running or smiling is going to be a gerund. You can also have a gerund phrase. So I like running to the store. So the whole phrase running to the store is going to be a gerund phrase. All right. Participles. Uh, this can also be tricky because participles can also end in ing, but instead of functioning as a noun, they're functioning as an adjective. Participles can also end in ed. So you can see these examples here. Walking home from practice, the exhausted Cindy nearly fell asleep on her feet. So I actually have two participles in this sentence. Um, this one is what we call a past participle. It ends in ed, right? And this is just a participle by itself. Here I actually have a participial phrase, a whole phrase describing Cindy walking home from practice. Okay. A really good way to tell if a ing word is functioning as a verb or as a verbal, as a gerund or participle, is if it has a be verb in front of it. If an ing word is functioning as a verb and not a gerund or participle, then it's going to have a be verb in front of it. So, can I move out of this box here? Okay, I'm not sure why I'm not moving out of the box. Let me just go to a blank page over here just to show you. Um, so I like running. That's a gerund. Running is a gerund in that case. I am running. Running is a verb. It's part of what we call a verb phrase, and it has the helping verb am in front of it. Okay, so that is sort of how you identify. One of the ways you can identify between a verbal and a verb. Last, we have an infinitive. I think these are a little bit easier to detect. They have a to in front of it. So if you have a to in front of a verb, then it's an infinitive. It's not functioning as a verb in a sentence, right? And these can, as far as speech function, they can actually function in one of various ways: noun, adjective, adverb. But here's your example. I want to go to the park. This to go is an infinitive, and this whole thing would be the infinitive phrase. But the verb of the sentence is actually want. I want what? To go to the park. So this verb phrase, this infinitive phrase, is functioning as a noun, as a direct object in the sentence. Okay, so those are your phrases. That's a lot to throw at you there. And I'm going to come back to clauses here in just a moment.